In this video, I'm about to show you why Chicago officials are absolutely furious after a major firm pulled millions of dollars out of downtown offices. This isn't about politics left or right. This is about your property taxes, your pension, and the city you used to be proud of. Because when a firm pulls millions out of downtown, that's not just a headline. That's money that's never coming back. And the officials, they're not angry at the company, they're angry at the messenger. Let's get into it. Let me start with the one that made every official in Chicago see red. In March 2024, the real estate firm CBRE released a report that should have been a wake-up call. But instead of waking up, the officials got furious. The report said that downtown Chicago office vacancies had hit 30%. That's nearly 1 out of every 3 office spaces empty. But that's not the number that made them angry. The number that made them angry was this. Major firms had pulled an estimated $4.2 billion out of downtown office leases in the past 18 months. $4.2 billion. That's not a withdrawal. That's a bank run. And when the report came out, the mayor's office didn't say, "We need to fix this." They said, quote, "CBRE's methodology is flawed. They're not accounting for companies that are renewing leases in the suburbs." Did you catch that? The officials were angry at the real estate firm for publishing the data, not at the companies for leaving, not at the policies that drove them away, at the firm that reported the news. I looked into this. According to CBRE's own data, which is publicly available, the 30% vacancy figure is actually conservative. Some buildings, like the Aon Center and the Hancock Center, are closer to 40% empty, and when a building is 40% empty, the owner is losing money. When the owner loses money, they stop paying full property taxes. When they stop paying full property taxes, the city raises your taxes to make up the difference. The officials can be angry at CBRE all they want, but the data doesn't care about their feelings. $4.2 billion left downtown, and that money isn't coming back. Let me tell you about a specific firm that started this whole trend, Kirkland & Ellis. They're one of the largest law firms in the world, billions of dollars in annual revenue. They've been in Chicago since 1909, and in 2022, they announced they were dramatically reducing their downtown office space. They had 300,000 square feet in the Aon Center. They gave back 100,000 square feet. They moved those lawyers to remote work and to their suburban office in Lake Forest. The amount of money pulled out? Real estate experts estimate around $50 million in lease value over 10 years. Now here's the part that should make you angry. When Kirkland & Ellis made this announcement, the city's response wasn't, "How can we help?" It was, "They're just following pandemic trends." But I called bullcrap on that, because according to a survey by the Chicago Law Journal, Kirkland & Ellis had reported 37 security incidents at their downtown office in the previous 2 years. 37. That's 1 every 3 weeks. The officials didn't want to talk about that. They wanted to talk about remote work. They wanted to talk about changing preferences. They didn't want to talk about the fact that lawyers making $500 an hour didn't feel safe walking to their cars. So they got angry at anyone who mentioned the real reason, but the real reason was right there in the police reports, and Kirkland & Ellis wasn't the last. They were the first. Now let me tell you about a firm you might not know by name, but you've definitely used their products. Morningstar. They're the investment research firm. Those star ratings you see on mutual funds? That's Morningstar. They've been headquartered in Chicago since 1984, over 2,000 employees. In 2023, Morningstar announced they were moving their entire headquarters to Dallas, Texas. Not a satellite office, their headquarters. The CEO, Kunal Kapoor, said in a statement, quote, "We need to be in a location that allows us to attract and retain the best talent. Texas offers that. Attract and retain talent." That's corporate speak for our employees don't want to work in Chicago anymore. The amount of money pulled out, Morningstar occupied 350,000 square feet in the old post office building. That lease was worth approximately $70 million over its term. $70 million. Gone. And the building owner, 601W Companies, is now stuck with a massive empty space they can't fill. When the news broke, the mayor's office said, "Morningstar has been planning this move for years. It's not a reflection on Chicago." But that's not true. According to documents obtained by Cranes, Morningstar had been considering Dallas since 2021, but the final decision came after a series of incidents near their office. 2 employees were mugged within 6 months. One was carjacked at gunpoint. After that, the CEO started taking calls from Texas. The officials were furious. But they weren't furious at the crime. They were furious at Morningstar for leaving, and they were furious at the media for reporting it. But you can't hide from the truth. The truth is $70 million left downtown, and the officials are angry at the people who noticed. BMO Harris Bank. They've been in Chicago since 1882, over 140 years. They're one of the largest banks in the Midwest. And in 2024, they announced they were consolidating their downtown offices from 3 buildings to 1. They gave up 200,000 square feet in the BMO Tower at 320 South Canal Street. That's about $50 million in lease value. The bank's official reason? Efficiency and remote work. But I did some digging. According to a report from the Chicago Police Department's Central District, the area around BMO Tower saw a 42% increase in theft and robbery in 2023 compared to 2022. 42%. And bank employees, according to anonymous surveys posted on Reddit and verified by the Chicago Tribune, said they felt unsafe taking the Metro and then walking to the office. One employee wrote, quote, "I've been with BMO for 22 years. I used to love coming downtown. Now I watch over my shoulder from the train station to the door. It's not worth it. I asked to transfer to the Naperville office. They approved it in 3 days." 3 days. That tells you everything you need to know. The bank knew the downtown office was a problem. They knew employees wanted out. So they pulled $50 million out of downtown and moved those employees to the suburbs and to their homes. The officials were furious. But they weren't furious at the crime. They were furious that BMO didn't give them a heads up before the announcement. Here's what I think. The officials want to control the narrative. They want to announce these departures on their own terms, with their own spin. But BMO didn't play along. They just left. And the officials were left standing there, furious, with nothing to say. CNA Financial. They're one of the largest commercial insurance companies in the United States. They've been in Chicago since 1897. Their building at 333 South Wabash is an architectural landmark, and in late 2023, they announced they were cutting their downtown office space by 40%. That's 150,000 square feet, approximately $30 million in lease value. The official announcement was boring, corporate speak, optimizing our real estate portfolio, embracing flexible work. But the real story came out in an interview the CEO gave to an insurance trade publication. He said, quote, "We have employees who simply refuse to come downtown. We've tried incentives, we've tried shuttle buses, nothing works. So we're following our people." Refuse. That's a strong word. Employees aren't refusing to come downtown because they're lazy. They're refusing because they're scared. According to a survey of CNA employees conducted by their union, 71% said they felt unsafe commuting to the Loop. 71%. That's not a small minority. That's a supermajority. When the news of the cutback hit, the city's planning department said CNA is still committed to Chicago. They're not leaving, but they did leave. They left 150,000 square feet. They left $30 million on the table, and the officials were furious. They called CNA's CEO. They asked him to reconsider. He said no, and then they got angry. Not at themselves, at him. Now let me tell you about one that really stings. GTCR. They're a private equity firm based in Chicago since 1980. They manage over $40 billion in assets. Their partners are some of the richest people in Illinois. And in 2024, they announced they were opening a new office in Miami and moving about 100 high-paying jobs there. The amount of money pulled out, GTCR occupied about 80,000 square feet in the Willis Tower. That lease was worth about $12 million. But the real loss isn't the square footage. It's the tax revenue. Those 100 jobs averaged over $300,000 per year in compensation. That's $30 million in annual payroll. The state income tax on that is about $1.5 million per year. The city's portion is about another $500,000. So every year, $2 million in tax revenue leaves because GTCR moved 100 jobs. The officials were furious. They called a press conference. They said, quote, "We're disappointed but not surprised." Private equity firms are always looking for lower taxes, but that's not what GTCR's managing partner said in an internal email that was leaked to Bloomberg. He said, quote, "It's not just taxes, It's quality of life. Our people want to be somewhere they feel safe. They want to be somewhere the government works. Chicago isn't that place anymore. The officials read that email, and they got furious. Not at themselves, at the partner who wrote it. They called him a traitor. They said he was bad-mouthing the city. But here's the thing. He wasn't bad-mouthing. He was telling the truth, and the truth made them angry. McKinsey & Company. You've heard of them. They're the most famous consulting firm in the world. They've had a major office in Chicago for over 50 years, over 800 consultants. And in 2023, they announced they were cutting their downtown footprint by 35%. The amount of money pulled out, about 100,000 square feet in the Aon Center, approximately $20 million in lease value. And the reason they gave? We're shifting to a hybrid model that emphasizes client-site work and remote collaboration. But a former McKinsey partner who still has friends at the firm told me something different. He said, quote, "The junior consultants don't want to be downtown. They're young. They're mostly female, and they're scared." We had 3 incidents in 6 months where consultants were followed from the train to the office. One was grabbed. After that, people started demanding to work from home or from the suburban office. 3 incidents, 6 months. That's 1 every 2 months. And each time, the firm had to notify HR, increase security, and reassure employees. Eventually, they just gave up. They let people work from home, and then they realized they didn't need the office space, so they gave it back. The city's response? They said McKinsey was following industry trends, but that's not true. McKinsey's offices in Dallas and Atlanta aren't cutting space, they're expanding. The only offices cutting space are in cities with crime problems. Chicago, San Francisco, Los Angeles. The pattern is clear, the officials see it, and it makes them furious. But they're furious at the firms for leaving, not at themselves for creating the conditions that push them out. This one is technical, but stick with me because it matters. Equity Commonwealth is a real estate investment trust. They own office buildings. And in 2023, they announced they were selling all their Chicago properties, every single one. They sold the building at 300 North LaSalle. They sold the building at 2 North Riverside. They sold everything. Total value? Over $800 million. The CEO said, quote, "We see better opportunities in other markets," but a securities filing told a different story. In the filing, Equity Commonwealth said, quote, "Urban office properties in high-crime jurisdictions face significant leasing challenges and declining valuations." High-crime jurisdictions, that's a legal term, and they used it to describe Chicago. When the news broke, the mayor's office issued a furious statement. They said, quote, "Equity Commonwealth is making a mistake. Chicago is a world-class city with a bright future," but the market disagreed. The building sold for less than they would have sold for 5 years ago. The buyers were mostly foreign investors who got a discount. The city lost tax revenue on the lower valuations. And the officials, they were furious. They blamed the REIT for abandoning the city. But the REIT is a business. Their job is to make money. And they figured out that Chicago wasn't profitable anymore, so they left. And the officials can be as furious as they want, but the buildings are still sold. The money is still gone. And your property taxes are still going up. Remember Kirkland and Ellis? Well, they weren't alone. In early 2024, another major law firm announced they were leaving the Aon Center, Sidley Austin. They've been in Chicago since 1866, over 150 years, and they gave back 120,000 square feet, about $25 million in lease value. The managing partner gave a statement that was so corporate, it could put you to sleep. Evolving our real estate strategy, meeting the needs of our workforce. But a legal industry newsletter got hold of an internal memo, and the memo said something very different. It said, quote, "We have lost 7 associates in the past year who cited safety concerns as their primary reason for leaving. We cannot recruit top talent from law schools when they have offers from firms in Dallas, Nashville, and Miami. This is a competitive disadvantage that we must address." 7 associates. Each one cost the firm about $250,000 to recruit and train. That's $1.75 million in sunk costs, and they left because of safety. Not because of money, not because of culture, because they were scared. The officials read that memo. It was leaked to the Chicago Tribune, and they were furious. They called the law firm and demanded a meeting. The law firm said no. They were already in talks with building owners in Dallas. The officials screamed, they yelled, they threatened, but the law firm didn't care. They were leaving. And the officials were left standing there, furious, with nothing but empty buildings and rising taxes. Let me end with what the officials said after all of this. After Kirkland and Ellis cut back, after Morningstar left, after BMO consolidated, after CNA downsized, after GTCR moved jobs to Miami, after McKinsey cut space, after Equity Commonwealth sold everything, after Sidley Austin followed. At a city council meeting last month, an alderman stood up and demanded answers. He said, "We've lost over $4 billion in office lease value in 2 years. What are we doing to stop this?" And the mayor's hand-picked planning commissioner answered. He said, quote, "The media is exaggerating, the numbers are misleading, and frankly, some of these firms were never committed to Chicago in the first place." He blamed the media, he blamed the numbers, he blamed the firms, he blamed everyone except himself and the policies he represents. Here's what I think. The officials are furious because they know the truth. They know companies are leaving because of crime and taxes and chaos. They know the data is accurate. They know the firms aren't exaggerating. But they can't admit it because that would mean their policies failed. So they get angry. They shout at reporters. They blame the media. They call firms traitors. But none of that brings back the $4.2 billion that left downtown. None of that fills the empty offices. None of that lowers your property taxes. And that's the part that should make you angry. The officials aren't furious at the problem. They're furious that you know about it. They want to control the narrative. They want to tell you that everything is fine while $4 billion walks out the door. And when you ask questions, they get angry at you. But you're retired. You've lived long enough to know when someone's lying. You've seen politicians come and go, and you can see that the officials are furious because they're losing. The companies are leaving, the jobs are leaving, the money is leaving, and they don't know how to stop it. So they get angry. But anger isn't a plan. Anger isn't leadership. Anger is the last refuge of people who have failed and know it. I'm not telling you to move. I'm telling you to pay attention. Watch the city council meetings. Watch the officials' faces when they're asked about these numbers. Look at the police reports. Look at the vacancy data. Don't let them tell you that $4.2 billion in lease value is misleading. Call your alderman. Go to community meetings. Vote. Ask the hard questions. When they blame the media, ask them about the CBRE report. When they blame the firms, ask them why those firms are expanding in Texas. Don't let them off the hook. Because if we don't demand better, nothing will change. More firms will pull their money. More offices will sit empty. More property tax increases will hit your mailbox. And the officials will still be furious. But they'll be furious at you for asking questions. You deserve better. Chicago deserves better. And the officials need to know that you're watching the money. Because when the money leaves, it doesn't come back.